Hey, it's Maddy and Jason. Thanks for joining us on The Wake Up Shot. This is a 6-part podcast series, and it's about self-discovery into the world of work life. And it's our second last ep. Yay!
There's a big word for this. It's our penultimate episode.
I like that.
A lot of people misuse that word, not realizing that penultimate means the second to the last. So this is our penultimate episode.
I learned that word from him, actually.
There you go.
And I haven't used it in a long time. So thanks for bringing it up again.
No worries. It's a perfect occasion for it.
It's liberating.
Yes.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about whether your career and you are a match made in heaven or hell. Jason came up with that.
Yes. Not bad, right?
Career fit, right? What's
Yeah.
an interesting way? And
Yeah.
seriously, is it a match made in heaven or hell?
Yeah, because the right fit, it can feel a bit like heaven, and the wrong fit definitely does feel like hell.
Yeah.
Like almost literally.
So why is it so important? Like, most people when they're looking for a job, they don't really think about a fit. You just think, I need to find a job. I studied this, therefore I need to find a job that fits what I studied. But what you study, is it fit enough, so to speak, right? Because it doesn't actually consider your personality or your temperament.
Exactly.
Maybe only your interests, because hopefully you studied it because you love it.
Yep.
But not all the time as well. Sometimes we were forced into it by our parents.
Well, that's the thing, right? I think there's a couple different factors that play into how well you'll function at your job and how good a fit you are. One thing is, will you enjoy it? That's one factor. The other factor is, will you be good at it? Because there are some people who are in a job that they enjoy, but they're not good at. And there's other people who are in a job that they're good at, but they don't enjoy. And I really think you need both of these factors to be aligned in order to make your work life experience a pleasurable one and a profitable one and a meaningful one.
And I'll go a little bit further than that. It's like, even if you are good at it and you enjoy it, but then suddenly you're promoted, and then you're supposed to manage people who are doing your job, and that's when you drown. Because that was not the job you were hired for, and maybe you don't actually want to manage people. You're just really good at your job and you want to keep doing your job, and managing people is not really part of it. But at the same time, it's hard to say no to a promotion.
Yes.
Right?
Well, I think this is a problem that befalls a lot of people. I think the first mistake people make, and you alluded to this in your introduction, is that they go into a job for the wrong reasons. They get pushed into a certain field, maybe because that's what their parents want them to do or something. Like, for example, like when I was on the radio, right, my eldest son, I think he's like, that seems like a really good gig. You work 4 hours a day, you make pretty good money, it seems like the perfect opportunity.
It's a lot harder than that, I promise you.
They make it a lot harder than it needs to be. But so my son, he went to study media. But what he found is that as much as he loves media and loves art and all these sorts of things, he found it a very bad fit because he didn't like being in front of the camera. A lot of the other kids in his course were very extroverted, very outgoing.
They love being in front of the camera.
Yes, and he just felt like this is just not it was a bad culture fit because my son likes to play sports. He's kind of a guy's guy. He's got so many guy friends. They like to he just loves to hang out with guys. And he entered this very feminine world of media where it's all like, it's all very
it's too camp for him.
It's too camp.
Dramatic.
And a lot of the people who go into media are like that. So it's not that maybe he didn't like the course, he didn't like the culture. And so after his first year, I convinced him to make a switch over to animation, which is what I'm doing now. And he's loved it because he can, like you said, work behind the scenes. And the people in the course are also a bit more down to earth, like sort of he is.
Different sorts of people.
Right? The people who go into art compared to the people who go into media, it's a very different world. And he liked that world. So I think that's one thing you gotta look when you're choosing an industry is, do you like the culture of that industry? Because say you go into law, that's gonna be a very specific culture. You've gotta be very serious, very sharp, a little bit savage, I would say. Like, you cannot be a sort of person who's going to be pushed around.
And you cannot take things too personally.
You cannot because you're going to be arguing all the time.
Yeah.
And people are going to come at you hard.
And you do see the worst of mankind.
Yes.
you do, and you must be able to separate yourself from work. And some people just can't, and it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
So there might be people who are smart enough to be lawyers, but they don't have that inner fortitude to be a lawyer, that inner sort of strength to go and just basically argue with people all day, solve people's problems all day. That takes a lot of sort of guts in a way.
Actually, I really love that you brought up culture, because it's something that I didn't think about when I was looking through this or thinking about this topic. And that's what this podcast is about. We're not here to tell you what to do. We do not know more than you, because this is about you, right? But hopefully it sets you thinking.
We might know more than you about having chaotic careers.
Yeah, that much we do.
Yeah.
But because we were in radio,
Yeah.
and hopefully many of you consider us friends. I mean, that's why I love radio.
Yeah.
Because radio is very personal.
Yeah.
And why people love radio, or the people they listen to on radio, is because they feel like they know you. And that is one of the greatest satisfaction, because I've done acting before, and I can tell you that, you know, I have, I feel really, I feel proudest of my radio achievement when you talk about my media career.
Yeah.
It's because the people who come up to me, who know me from radio, are different from the people who come up to me who know me from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they know me.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get that.
Yeah.
Because they listen to you and they feel like they're part of your conversations, your daily conversations. And so they know you, or at least they feel that they know you.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess this podcast is about, to like, we are, hopefully you see us as your friends, so bring up the questions that maybe some of your friends or your parents or your kids don't dare to bring up.
Yeah.
And just gets you thinking a little more and a little deeper.
Yeah, we're probably more interesting than your friends and family, at least a little bit. And we've probably been through a little bit more in certain ways than a lot of people have. So I think that's the advantage.
Well,
and you listened to us for 8 years, and neither of us, you know, we've been fairly reliable and fairly honest, I think, over that time.
Well, you're one of my most interesting friends.
You're one of my most interesting friends.
Oh, thank you. So that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the importance of finding a career fit, you know. Culture. That's something nobody thinks about. Like if you're thinking of going into radio, for example, which our producer, Irene, hi, should we call out names? Yeah, what the heck? We're close enough.
Yeah,
She'll understand, right?
They should be used to it by now.
Yeah. So when Irene joined us as a producer, the thing was, she was listening to us, she loved the show, and she thought, oh, how fun it would be to be a part of that show and to be a part of radio media, a world that she never thought about. And she didn't study for. She started business studies. She was doing her own arts and craft business, scrapbooking business. You know, and she thought, okay, I can do that. Oh my God, what a rude awakening. Do you remember that, Irene? So she was crying, I think every other day.
And it wasn't always my fault.
Or my fault.
Just sometimes.
No, she even cried over an interaction with the HR person or the finance person.
Yeah.
And I remember one day she was crying at her desk, and she goes, I hate media people.
Yeah.
They're all so rude and horrible.
And she's right. They're horrible.
No.
Here's the thing, Maddy. It's true. If you want to go into media or something, you have got to be aware you're going into a horrible culture filled with horrible, loathsome people. Maddy, it's just a fact. We might love some of them, but the thing is, we're also those people to varying degrees.
You're not.
I'm
you're
not
so
and that's
much.
Why I had
you're the writing part, like you're part. In terms of media, you are like journalism.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of, again, you know, media is very broad.
Yeah.
But in media, in our defense, we're very straightforward because you know we talk for a living. You know, we sit in front of the camera and or the mic, and we talk about, share our opinions. So you have to own your opinions and say what you mean what you say. Hopefully,
yeah.
And that's why you get that kind of people who are very straightforward and they don't mince their words. And sometimes it can come across as being rude. Some honestly are, but oftentimes it's just like, I'm saying it as it is. And please don't get emotional about it.
Well, that's what makes people entertaining. It's like good, decent, solid people aren't entertaining. Like, honestly, like if you have to listen to somebody who's very down to earth, he's got a good outlook on life, leads a good, healthy lifestyle, like I'm sorry, but that's going to be kind of a boring person.
No, they are the guests.
They can be the guests.
They are the guests. And they are great guests because they balance us out.
Yeah. But people who go on the air and talk for a living, they have to hold your interest. And the only way to hold people's interest is to be a bit of a brat, frankly. Like, you have to be a bit of a brat.
And I think Irene didn't account for that.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't think about the culture.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think because her character is also, I will not give up.
Yeah.
And I will not say die. Good for her.
Yeah.
You know, she's really grown. But I think she's also relieved to eventually get out of it.
Yeah.
But she grew to love the people that she worked with, and therefore she stayed on.
At times. At different times.
But, you know, back to the career fit. It wasn't a perfect career fit, but there was definitely something in it for her to learn and grow and become the person that she's meant to be to take the next step, which is where she is now. You know, a marketing director at an aesthetic clinic, Freya. Shout out to Freya. And
Thank you, Freya.
and thank you, Freya. And she is thriving.
Yeah.
You know.
One thing about the media, I guess we don't want to just talk about the media, but I think it's a good example, and it's what we know best, is that it really does toughen you up. And then I think it really does instill you with a certain sort of confidence. So here's the thing, right? We talk about jobs maybe not being a bad fit, but say like Irene, you go into a job like media, radio, and it's not the perfect fit, but it helps you to grow in so many ways. And it builds up your confidence because you're like, well, if I can deal with these assholes, I can deal with anything.
That's true.
And after she came out of radio, I think she was prepared to take on the job, like you said, that she currently has, because it toughened her up, it wisened her up, it made her more aware, it made her more capable. She took on so many challenges. And so after that experience, she was able to move on to something that maybe is a slightly better fit for her.
Yeah, so from the importance of a career fit, we move to, you know, so what makes a good career fit? Personality, temperament,
yeah. Well, you know,
passion.
everybody should know by now, I'm like the MBTI expert. You know, I've been able, the last 8 people I've met, I think, I go to this party with these MBTI people, I've been able to guess their MBTI types, like each and every time. And the odds of that happening are like a zillion to 1. But I think I have a really good sense of who people are on a fundamental level. Here's another example, right? Like my wife and I, my wife's cousin, she's a very lovely person. And she worked in a law firm, sort of as a paralegal. And it's a job where it's a little bit dull, and it's the same thing every day.
It's dull to you. I have to add, it's dull to you.
It's dull to me. But you do the same thing every day, and you have a lot of responsibility. You can't make any mistakes. And you're dealing with people, like I said, it's a very serious environment. And after a while, we noticed that it seemed to be grinding her down a bit. And so we suggested a career change. She went to work for this hospitality company, a large hotel chain. She wasn't working in the hotel, she was working in the office. And she worked with this boss who's a very dynamic, go-getter type lady. And it's kind of a chaotic environment. It's a very dynamic environment. You don't know from day to day what's going to be thrown at you.
Things change. When it's dynamic,
Totally.
you're always changing.
Yes.
Right?
And she couldn't deal with it.
I mean, you plan, but then at the same time, you're also spontaneous. You kind of over-prepare and then go with the flow.
Exactly. I think in the hospitality industry, I think that's sort of the quality that you need to have. And she didn't have it. And so she found it unbelievably stressful. And so she managed to stay there for like about a year. And then she realized this was just not, and my wife and I had convinced her to take on this job. And she's like, you know, my old boss is asking me if I want to go back to the law firm. And now she's gone back there. And the thing is, she's so happy now because she knows that that's where she belongs. That's the environment she belongs in. And that's the sort of work that she sort of enjoys in a way.
It suits her
personality
type, right?
She's a very conscientious person. She's a very careful, cautious person. And she's a very orderly person. And so working in a law firm is the perfect fit for her. So I think that, I think we might have touched on this a bit before too. Sometimes it's good to stretch yourself just to see where you don't belong.
I think it's always good to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But at some point when you're unhappy, you have to then sit back and, do you just blame the people in the environment around you? Or just use it as an opportunity to get yourself, to get to know yourself better, and then go, this is not for me. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Now I know, where I belong. And we need that sometimes, to look outside.
100%. I think it's very important to have self-knowledge. I think Maddy and I are both very self-aware people. I think we know
It took a while, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm 50, he's past 50. It's about bloody time.
Yes. But it does. It takes a while, you know. But I think that even at a young age, you should try to have enough self-awareness to know which industry might be a good, like people talk about jobs, right? Like here's the thing, I've had this discussion before, right? Like people say, why are you playing basketball? You're never going to be Michael Jordan. Well, you don't have to be Michael Jordan to be involved in basketball or even more broadly, sport. You know, okay, here's the thing, right? If you love sport, you might just want to be in that environment. You might just like that world of sport. You don't have to be the top superstar. What if you manage a sporting goods company? What if you are a golf pro? What if what if you're a sports writer? You know, there's all different things you can do within that industry. So my thinking is always, don't look at the job, don't look at the position or even the salary, look at the industry that you want to be involved in. Like here's the thing, right? Like there's a big emphasis on people going into office jobs, office careers. But what if you're a very physical person? Sitting in a cubicle might not be a good idea, but sales might be a good way to enter that environment and still be competitive, still be kind of a douche, and you know, it might benefit you. If you're a very dominant personality, you can still find a way to make, you know, office life work for you if you're in that more competitive aspect of it.
So for example, take sales. Sales is a great example, right? If you're looking for a killer, a hustler, I mean, that's what you need for a sales position, right? And a good salesperson rarely has attention to detail.
Yeah.
They're really big, they're really out there.
Sometimes they don't pay you the money that they owe you, like what happened to us.
No, but you know, so when you say, for example, if you're a company and you're hiring, you go, oh, I want a salesperson who has attention to detail. I'm sorry, but then don't expect them to be, often they're not very good at selling.
That's such a good point.
You know, you need to understand that there are certain roles where that certain personality types thrive in certain roles, and they're extremely good at that.
Yes.
So that you take them as they are. So I think it goes both ways as well.
That's such a good point.
I realize that when I'm looking for someone, for example, in marketing, you need attention to detail. If you don't have, then maybe it might be better that you are the marketing assistant manager instead of the manager. Then you have the manager to check for all the little things that you miss, right? But until you get that sorted, you may not be a good fit as a marketing manager. And if you are going into sales, then just know that it would be better if you liked interacting with people.
Yes.
And if you're just going in there because you want the money, then be prepared that you may not be the best at it, and be okay with that.
Yeah, from the sales, like in our careers, I think we've come in contact with a lot of salespeople. Like the funny thing is, right, like when I was working as a writer, I had to interact with salespeople. And when I was a DJ, I had to interact with salespeople much more than I would have thought. You think kids, right? You think you go into these careers, people will just leave me alone. I can just live my quiet life at my computer typing away. That's not the way it is in the real world, you know. Even if you're in writing, you still have to interact with all these different facets of whatever company you're working in. And what I always found interesting about salespeople is a lot of times they were very sporty. A lot of times they were quite sporty, good looking, and they did love money, and they were just such a different breed. Do you know what I mean? They were really
they're commission monsters.
They
need to be.
Yeah. So they were like, if you're looking for a person like that, you want the person who's like the most like that, and they're not going to be sort of they're going to be competitive people. They might not be the best team players. They're looking out for their own commission.
Yes.
But these are the kind of people that you want in that role. If you're that kind of person, you'd probably be a great salesman. And going back to what you said, if you're not that kind of person, do not go into sales because you will be so miserable.
Yeah.
If you're not a dick, don't go into sales.
That's not true either. I have lovely girls who do sales and they are not
dicks.
But they love being out there. They love talking, you know what I
mean?
No,
but girls do it in a different way.
Yeah. No.
Like girls, like guys do sales in their own way and girls do sales in their other way. And there has to be an aspect almost of coquetry with females who are in sales. Almost
what?
Coquetry, like a bit flirtatious, a little bit like, you cannot be a shrinking violet or a shy girl in sales. Like most of the girls I met who are in sales, they like to party, they like to go out, They're fast girls.
Again, it's a certain personality type.
It's a certain personality type.
Yeah, and where you thrive. I'm not saying that if you're not that personality type, you shouldn't go into it. But just know that when you go into it, that's the culture you're going to, and most of the people who are there who thrive are that personality type. Go in there to learn. For example, maybe you're shy and you're not very outgoing and you don't actually really like people, but you're fascinated by the sales world and the salespeople, and you want to see what it's like to be in that world and to have the opportunity to earn more. Go in there and take it as a lesson and tell yourself that, okay, I maybe will just do that for a year or two, but then that puts me out there. I will learn to hustle with the hustlers. Then it's okay.
I think it's okay, Maddy, but I do think it's hard to change your basic nature. What I would say... Okay,
wait.
Go ahead.
I have to say, I'm not saying you change, but what you do is you learn, you take a little bit of that, and then you go back to where you are most comfortable in and you thrive. But I can promise you that if you approach that with the attitude to learn and grow as a person and to embrace all the different personality types and diversity, then because you're always going to come across and work with salespeople. First of all, you will learn how to work better with them because then you understand them better. You know how to work in tandem.
Just as an aside, I did like a lot of the salespeople I worked with.
Sure.
I mean, they were sometimes they irritate me, but I did like a lot of them.
Sure. So then I am sure that it will make you better at your job, directly or indirectly. It will, because you just have an overview picture of all the different moving parts that, that make something work.
Because we are talking about industries, every industry has all these different component parts to it. Like in our industry, media, there was the sales force, there was the marketing force.
There's a programming side.
There's programming side.
And you have to decide where you fit. So for example, if you think, I love media, this is multifaceted. So where do you fit? And that's where you can explore, and when you're young, that is the best time. I suppose, I also have to emphasize that, when it comes to career fit, maybe when you're young, it's okay, try everything, because, opportunity cost is low. If you're not going to try then, when are you going to do it? Because the opportunity cost, as you earn more, the opportunity cost is higher as well. You have a lot more to lose when you are making a career switch at 40 or 50. That is a fact.
I think the thing is, though, it also depends, it's such an individual thing, right? It depends, for some people, the main thing, they want in their career is, money or financial stability. And,
who doesn't want that?
I mean, I think everybody wants it, but it's a matter of degree, right? There are a lot of people who go into more artsy stuff who really do not think about that stuff very much at all. Now, the people who do, they will end up in an industry like banking and finance, which I don't know. Do you know much about that world? I don't know much about that.
Yeah, I do.
World.
I mean, my sister, my brother-in-law,
your
my
father,
dad, came from the banking industry.
So the people who go into that, they tend to be very stable people in a way, and have a very strong idea of where they want to get to in the future.
All kinds,
I guess.
Yeah.
But that's another environment that's also very competitive, and you have to have a lot of guts, and you have to be very tenacious.
So, for example, like my sister, she started out in sales at the bank, and then she realized that's not her. That's not her personality side. So she went into the admin side to support the salespeople.
That's great.
And she thrived.
Yeah.
She didn't thrive in sales, but she thrived supporting them.
That's a perfect example. And the great thing is she does know what the salespeople are going through because she has worked as a salesperson.
Yes.
So she understands them. And then she's able to go into a more supporting role that suits her personality better. That's such a great example.
And the salespeople really, really love her because she's such a great support, because she understands both sides. So I think that's one good example. But that's the thing. She tried it. She tried everything when she was in her 20s. And therefore, once you get to a certain age and you've tried that, then you can say, okay, yeah, I like this, but I think I'm a better fit here. But until you try it, you don't really know. Okay, so let's delve into strategies and approaches that we can use to find the right career fit. Self-assessment, personality type test. I mean, apart from just trying all the different things.
For me, if you're not a self-aware person, and there's a lot of people, surprisingly, a lot of people who really don't have a lot of self-awareness. I think taking some sort of personality assessment, it doesn't have to be MBTI, it can be anything.
There's many now.
It can be astrology for all I care. You have to find some way to get in touch with who you are as a person, and then be able to use that self-knowledge to be able to guide yourself through your career. Because if you're just going, my mom says I should be a lawyer, or my mom wants me to be a doctor, that's no way to run your life, you know.
Or even listen to relatives like your cousin who listened to you guys.
Yeah,
actually, I don't think it was bad anyway. Yeah. But you know, for the thing is, sometimes when you talk to your friends and your family, they do want what's best for you, but often it's probably what's best for them.
Yes.
Because you know, we relate to the world in the way we see it.
Exactly. My advice would be really listen to other people as little as possible. You really have to listen to yourself. And no matter what people are telling you, and you don't know people's motivations for telling you what to do, who knows why they're telling you to, you know, maybe it's because they love you, but it could be for any other number of reasons. So you really have to decide for yourself, really, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you love? How can you imagine spending the rest of your life? And even if you've already gotten into a career you don't like Maddy, you were saying it's better to do it when you're young, but I did it when I was 55. You did it when you were...
It's never too late. It also depends on the opportunities that come your way. If you have the opportunities.
But you have to make opportunities too.
You do too, by putting yourself out there. So instead of just staying home and say, this is not my dream job, this is not my dream job, this is not my dream job, like just go out there and get a job.
That's right.
Because when you put yourself out there, that's when opportunities come.
Yeah.
That's where things happen. But first of all, you have to be on the road first, moving forward. If you're staying at home, just thinking or dreaming or complaining, the problem is that you are stagnant. You're not moving. So
unless you're at home, and say you're not working, say you're between jobs or just starting off on your career, a lot can be done at home too to get yourself prepared.
If you're studying, like I'm not saying when you're taking a course, that's very different.
Say you're taking a course or you're practicing a craft or something like that. What I'm saying is there shouldn't be a lot, like life is a lot shorter than you might think. At our age we know that. It goes by in the blink of an eye. So you really don't have a ton of time to waste. So you should look at your life as being, you know, one of constant growth. And no matter where you're at in your own personal timeline, you should be either throwing your heart into whatever job it is you're doing, if you love it, if you're good at it, or planning your escape and working on something. You know, you've heard of that quiet quitting, where people stay at their job, but they don't really do anything, but they still collect their paycheck. Yeah. I'm all for it. So
I'm all for it too.
As long as it's not your company.
No, I would spot that.
Yeah.
Because I do have staff like that, and I would sit down and talk to them.
Yeah.
I would sit down and talk to them because sometimes they are just going through something.
Yeah.
And then
it's a temporary thing.
I do believe that as employers as well, you need to have that conversation with your staff, because there is no person that can be working at that same level years on years and feel equally motivated. You know, compared to the first day they entered the workforce, it is not possible, right? It's the ebb and flow of a career, and that is when you sit down and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And I have had conversations like that with some of my staff. And I had a designer, one of my best, who has been with me for a very long time, and I could see that she was just not there. So I had a really, really good chat with her. And I asked her what's going on, because it's not fair to the entire team as well when you're not there and everybody's carrying your load and everyone can see that you're not there. It affects the team morale. And she told me there were several reasons. I think one, she was comparing herself. She was feeling a little threatened by another designer who seems to be better than her, because she always thought that she was the best. Right. And suddenly, I'm not the best. Am I still the best? Am I still good? You know, little things like that. She started doubting whether, where am I on the pay scale? And then she talks to her friends who are in tech, and this was before the tech bubble burst recently, and they were boasting to her about how much more they made. And so we had a good conversation, and I said, I think one, when your friends tell you that tech makes more money, I mean, there's different levels of tech. And now with AI, this was before ChatGPT too. A lot of things are changing, but often you also have to listen to the people who are telling you these things, because they just want to make themselves feel good.
That's
and they don't really think about how that makes you feel. And it got her thinking as well, like, what do I want to do? And what I offered her, I mean, to cut a long story short, what I offered her was this, because she was so good at her job, and she is diligent. She was not trying to take the piss. So I told her, I said, you know what? Why don't you go find a job? Find another job. First of all, go look at any design job and see whether you find a better work environment or you can get a better pay. I mean, I was pretty sure that she won't, but that doesn't matter. Or go find a tech job. Go take on a new skill. You know, you're young, you can do it now. And I told her this, and I said, and I'll make it risk-free for you. If after 1 year you don't like it, you come back.
That's so beautiful.
And I will take you back. I will take you back. To begin with, she was a great worker. She was a great team player.
That's still a great gesture. I
Yeah.
think that's nice.
So then she, you know, suddenly she felt liberated, because we talked about this in one of the first few episodes. She felt that she had options. See, that's the thing. When people feel trapped, that's when they become miserable. She thought this was the it. At 20-something, to think that that's it, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
You know, so when she realized, oh my God, I have options. I can go explore the world, and then I can still come back here where I feel I belong. Or maybe I won't, but it's okay because it's risk-free.
Yeah.
So she did her self-searching, and then she came back and she said, okay, I realized that I'm not the sort who will take on a new skill because I'm too lazy. You know, I am good in design.
That's why you become a designer in the first place.
No, but it's, you know, she loves art, she loves design, she excels in it, and that's what she wants. And she knows, she realized that she's not that kind of a person, a go-getter kind of a person.
Yeah.
She is really happy in her job. She just felt at that point she didn't have options.
Actually, I think it's funny, you know, that you have this girl who's like a designer, she's a bit arty-farty, and they want her to go into like the tech field, which is a totally different vibe. It's like very, very like, it's all logic brain, right? It's, what is it, left brain or right brain? I can't remember.
I don't know too. But here's the thing, right? If it's a true friend and this friend knows you, and they're being a friend, they would say, but you're so good at art.
Yeah.
You do such beautiful drawing.
Yeah.
It's about, a true friend makes you feel good. Even when you're in the doldrums, they still make you, they see the best in you.
Yeah.
Right? They understand what you're really, really good at.
That's right. And I think that, like you say, that maybe they were just sort of humble bragging over her. It's like, you poor little designer, look how much we're making over here in tech before we all got laid off.
Actually, I can 100% tell you that was exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes don't listen to your friends. Not all your friends.
Yeah.
There's a very few friends who really want the best for you. And I don't say this in a cynical way, because you know I'm anything but cynical. But you have to be very careful where you seek counsel.
Yeah.
Because often people tell you things or give you advice to make themselves feel better. It's not so much about you, it's about them.
I've come to the conclusion, actually, half of most human conversations are humble brags.
These days, yes.
And when people talk to you and they're trying to sound either sympathetic or encouraging or self-depreciating or what, a lot of it just amounts to humble bragging.
That's
so
the cynic in you.
You've got to, so you've really got to be aware of where other people are coming from.
Yeah, and so from that point onwards, after we had that conversation, and of course, you know, she talked a little bit about pay and stuff, now she's really happy.
Yeah.
And so, boom, she went from this to this.
Yeah.
And again, like I say, it's the ebb and flow of work life, and it's very normal. Sometimes you go through the doldrums, and then maybe you have a chat, you go through some soul searching, you don't have to go outside to come back. Sometimes that's what you need, and that's okay, but it comes from self-knowledge, self-awareness, like you said.
And I think that it's more important, like if you're the sort of person who is a craftsperson or is a sensitive sort of person, if you're doing a job you don't like, no amount of money in the world will make you happy.
Yes.
Like when I was a DJ, as much as I love being with you guys and talking on the radio and that, all the other stuff around it I hated, and it started to eat away at me.
Like what?
Huh? Just dealing with the other stuff.
Like dealing with the other DJs.
No, even that wasn't. It's just dealing with like the politics of it and the dealing with the whole system that's built up around. Like the way I always saw it is, the way I see the world basically is you have people who can do things, who are craftspeople. And I look at being a DJ as sort of being a craftsperson.
Yeah.
You know, you're crafting your words. It's not an easy thing. And, you know, so I look at it, there's like all these people who can do things, and they want to do these things for an audience. And then you get these humongous systems built up around the people who do the actual thing. And these systems, I feel like, in some ways they facilitate it, in other ways they hinder it. And I feel like I just wanted to do my craft. I didn't want to deal with all these huge systems that are built up around it.
But when you work for a big corporation, you deal with the politics with it, right?
That's right.
But that's why you are insulated by your team.
That's right. And as much as I could be insulated, I really appreciate it and I could function. But after a number of years of it, it just gets to be too much. I mean, this is another thing you got to look at. Are you the sort of person who should be working for a big corporation? Are you the sort of person who should be working with a small family-owned company? Should you own your own little family-owned company? This is the thing too. Like, you can go into a certain industry, but there'll be different companies within that industry that will have different cultures. And there'll be either very big companies with very corporate cultures, or there'll be small, fly-by-night little independent operations who will have their own problems and their own advantages. So you got to take all these things into consideration. Like, in life, we don't always have the choice. We can't always make the exact choice we want. But I think life should be a process of trying to get, you know, little by little to that perfect spot where we can be a little bit happy in this hard, horrible world. You know what I mean? It's like you really have to manage your career very carefully to get to a point where you can start calling your own shots and start being your own person and start doing what you're best at with as little interference as possible. That's my thinking.
Yeah, and that goes back to my philosophy of over-prepare, go with the flow.
Yeah.
So with this podcast, hopefully got you thinking. So this is where the preparation comes.
Yeah.
You think about career fit, my personality type, my temperament, the company culture, you know, am I made for this or that?
Yeah.
Am I more this or that? All that you can think, okay? But get out there.
Yeah.
And when you are young, try it all.
Yeah.
It's okay,
Yeah.
right? But then as you get older, that's when you when you go, okay, so I have to reverse a bit.
Yeah.
So when you're young, you can go with the flow,
Yeah.
right? You apply for jobs, see what comes up. Oh, okay, I'll try this. It's not the perfect fit, but sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And then 1 or 2 years, not so much, move on. But when you get to a certain age, like 30, 35, and then you have family, that's when you start thinking about that. That's when career fit really becomes important.
For sure.
Because by 30, you do want to be building on something that is long term. The later you build on it, like I say, is the higher the opportunity cost. Because if you stay in a company for a long time, you climb the corporate ladder, your pay becomes higher, there's more to lose. And you may never make the switch.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make the switch, you know, you make it earlier, and hopefully by the time you get to 40 or 50, you have already laid the groundwork in your 20s and early 30s.
That's right.
To get to the career that is the right fit for you, like your cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
She went back to her former workplace and now she's thriving.
Yeah. But just remember, you know, always take into consideration your own happiness. And whatever it is that makes you happy, you know, maybe working hard makes you happy. Maybe not working hard makes you happy. I mean, we all would like to make a lot of money, but for some people it's much more important. So really try to become aware of your own priorities and figure out what is the career that will help me live my best life.
I'm going to add one more thing. And there are some people who, no matter what, just can't be happy.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. If you are miserable in everything, you need to ask yourself, is it me?
But you know what? If you're that kind of person, I would suggest becoming a mortician. Because I think there's nothing better than a really gloomy mortician. And I feel like everybody has their spot. In this
like
world.
go work at a funeral parlor?
Yeah, like somebody with a really sallow face and deep eyebrows.
No, but you've met people like that. You know people like that.
Yeah, but
they are never happy.
But if you're not happy, you can find a job that suits you being unhappy. You can be a movie critic.
Yeah, exactly. So there's still a job for someone like that, but you need to stop blaming the world and just find a job and know yourself and say, you know what, I'm just never happy.
Yeah.
So either this is it and this is as good as it gets, or you know what, I'll find a job that is like...
Mortician.
and take Jason
I don't know if
Johnson's
that's good advice or not, but I like the mental image of it.
Probably not. Well, we hope you got something out of it. And do join us next week for our very last episode of The Wake Up Shop. See ya.